We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break. What's that you said coming over you? You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is the Fans Forum on Monday the 9th of December, and it is welcome to George, it is welcome to Tom, to Kevin, to Darren, to Pablo and to Ian, and good evening to you. Newcastle United losing another away game, away to Brentford. Game of two halves, proverbial game of two halves. I think you heard what me and the professionals had to say yesterday. Be interesting to hear what the panel's got to say tonight. And of course, we'll be talking about Eddie Howe as well. And in fact, what we might do is we'll start with that and then look back at the Brentford game. Darren has posted in the chat already. He says, "Hi, Steve. Can we see who is Eddie in and who is Eddie out on the panel? It would be interesting." Okay, Darren, I'm going to start with that. I'm going to book the trend, not start with the game review and see what people thought of the game. Let's talk about Eddie in or Eddie out. I'll tell you where I stand. It's Eddie in for me. Certainly don't think Eddie Howe should be removed from his position at this moment in time. I still think he's got credit in the bank. At the moment, I think some people's credit in the bank seems to fluctuate with what result we get. If you'd asked everybody this question on Wednesday after the Liverpool game, people would be saying, yeah, give Eddie a chance and he'll be fine and blah, blah, blah. Of course, if you ask Eddie after the West Ham game or the Brentford game, it's going to be people are going to be angry and disappointed at two performances where the team didn't turn up for a game and a half. So, for me, I'm not a fickle football fan. I genuinely feel that Eddie deserves a chance to at least manage this football club until the end of the season and see where we're at. I think it would be fair to say by the end of the season, he will have certainly had at least another transfer window to bring somebody in. If he's not given the money to spend in January, I think it would be unfair to get rid of Eddie Howe at the end of the season because he's gone 3 transfer windows where he's had virtually nothing to spend. And he's asking to win games with the team which essentially kept us up from relegation 3 seasons ago. I genuinely think Eddie Howe has done, nothing wrong in many things. Yes, there are positional changes. There are personnel changes, which we'll all disagree with. We'll all have our own opinions on the team that Eddie picks and the positions that he picks and the formations that he picks. But we don't know what goes behind the scenes in training, etc. So yeah, for me, it's a simple answer. It's Eddie in. Let's see where we're at after the transfer window. Let's see where we're at the end of the season. Nothing's decided in December. Things are essentially decided in May. We won't be getting involved in a relegation battle. We won't be down. We might get to Wembley. But for me, it's Eddie in. I think it's pathetic to say that anybody needs to lose their job in this position. There are managers who certainly will lose their jobs in and around this festive period. El Sacchio tonight between West Ham and Wolves will surely see one, if not both, of the managers lose their jobs. But yeah, for me, I don't understand this clamour for getting rid of your manager. It's got a lot of feeling of the whole Bobby Robson situation where people felt as if the club was going stale, and the fans on social media calling for his head. I think it's ridiculous. Let's have a little bit of common sense here. It's not Eddie in or Eddie out at the moment. It's how do we get behind the team? How do we push things? And how do we get the best out of the players that we've got? And if January, as it looks, is going to be another poor transfer window because we can't spend, or the owners aren't happy on spending because they feel as if we'll be punished, and punished maybe a lot worse than other people have been punished, then we're going to have to face it that it's going to be summer when we do our business. And there will be business done in the summer. Surely to God, Newcastle aren't going to be giving new contracts to Callum Wilson, Kieran Trippier, Matt Targett, whoever else, Jamal Lascelles. We're not going to be seeing we'll be putting an over 40s team in if we start giving those lads new contracts. So those players will go. Those players will be leaving the team. They will be leaving the club. So we will be getting replacements in. They'll be off the wage bill. Some of them will get, some of them will go on free transfers. But ultimately, Newcastle in the summer will have an opportunity to go and spend, and hopefully they'll go and spend big. So, long-winded answer from me, and again on me pedestal a little bit. But yeah, I don't think this is even a question we should be talking about. But Darren's asked us to ask the question, so it's 150% Eddie in for me. George.
Well, a very fair question from Darren, to be perfectly honest, in the situation you're in. But it's Eddie in for me because I've not got a short memory. The years I've been around, I've seen what's all gone on for a long time. And anybody that's Eddie out needs to look. There are 9 players, possibly 10. We are still regularly in our first team. Couldn't get a game under Steve Bruce. And suddenly, a lot of those players are worth money. Where under Bruce, you wouldn't give them tuppence for them. And you can name them, they're all there. So the job that Eddie's done on that score, and without the support in the transfer window, has earned him another chance for me. But I'm honest. You recall we had a discussion not long after the start of the season about what our hopes were. And I think I did say then, and some of you might remember, that if we weren't in a top 4 position by Christmas, Eddie would be under pressure. But not for me. It's Eddie in for me. But I'd be very surprised if people in Saudi Arabia aren't looking at things and more deeply than they are now. I just wish we knew who looked at these things, because we don't know. Our hierarchy is so fragmented, and that's a big issue for Eddie as well. Not only is he not getting support in the window, he's having to combat with the addition of new senior people. And I, for one, I'm not sure on what level these people are. Are they Eddie's boss? Are they Eddie's equal? Are they doing this, that, and the other? And we had the long debate about the things that Mitchell said when he came in, and all of that's still in the background, and it shouldn't be. And that's up to the senior people higher up, who should be sorting that out. And I'm sorry to bang an old drum again. The person that would have sorted it out in minutes isn't anything to do with the club anymore, and that's quite sad. And looking at the state of the girls' team, she's been missed there as well. So we've got a lot of. I agree with that. That we do need to get a lot of players out, but the bottom line is that Eddie Howe was given a hand of cards, and he's played it very well, in my opinion, and indeed enhanced the skills and reputations of players who I would have happily seen go out of the door a long time ago. Well, as Steve's quite rightly said, we're getting to the point where some of them, there's no option because their contracts are up, so it's goodbye. But at the moment, the short answer, a long answer to a very short question, and a good question, Darren. For me, I'm Eddie in at the moment.
Okay, Sean, I saw your comment in the chat there. I certainly don't sway people's opinion certainly on here. God, if you don't watch this show on a Monday night, everyone's got their own opinion. We constantly disagree. I think Murphy should win the Ballon d'Or.
Oh no, we don't.
Darren doesn't.
No, Murphy, Steve. Transfer within January.
Tom, what's your feelings, mate, on this? It's an interesting situation we find ourselves in, especially after that wonderful performance against Liverpool, a game of two halves at Brentford. But yeah, I mean, look, we're being asked about, we're being asked a question by Darren, and, I don't mind discussing it because everybody else is discussing it on social media.
Well, speaking of social media, I was reading Facebook this morning in a group called Positive Tune Fans that I like the group, a lot of good people there. And Richard Thompson, I'm going to call him out. I don't know if he listens to the show, but he posted something that I just loved. So this is a quote. Having read through social media since Saturday, it's quite obvious we need a new manager. My preference would he be English, experienced in the Premier League, and with a reputation for attacking football. Someone with a real work ethic. First in, last out sort of bloke. He must be good on the training pitch and be able to relate to players as well as managing those above him. He has to be able to manage the media and understand the plans of the fans and the city. He needs to do it all. Then he says, hang on, wait a minute, because we got that guy, right? So we really have a gem. He's had a lot of things not go his way. Last year, of course, it was injuries, the 2 windows where he wasn't able to refresh his squad. A week ago on Geordie's, we had a few people comment about how to prepare for the Liverpool game. George really said have a go at him, right? Kevin said you need to simplify it, go man-to-man on especially in the midfield. Steve Hasty said stop playing people out of position. We got people bouncing around all over the place. Stu said we need the fan support and really be positive. And then I said, if you play a winger, make it be a winger. And I kind of touted to Murphy to pat myself on the back. So all those things were exactly what Ed did.
The wrong game against Liverpool. Maybe looking to spy apart.
All those things we did against Liverpool. And Eddie did the same thing against Brentford, right? So the only thing that was different, he wanted to rest a couple players that he said were knackered after the Brentford game. So I back Eddie. I think that he's doing the right things. He hasn't been backed certainly by in the windows, but he also, I think, a lot of players need to look themselves in the mirror and step up their play.
Okay, thanks for that, Tom. And thanks, Sean. Yeah, he says, I get you, Steve. Maybe I was jumping the gun. Apologies. The best show on NUFC out here on YouTube. I thought, no, thank you, mate. And I appreciate that. But yeah, listen, it is all about opinions. And this one, because it's about the manager, is always going to have, it's going to have passionate outbursts and passionate opinions. And this one is one where there is no answer. And somebody put a comment in earlier on about the owners won't give a monkeys what we think. Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, our opinion doesn't come into this. This is their decision, their opinion. It's how they feel. And somebody also mentioned, I think it was Barry Hogan, who is ill, get well soon, Barry, if Newcastle get knocked out of the Carabao Cup on the Wednesday, I mean, this is a crucial 4 games. If we got knocked out of the Carabao Cup, is that a time for them to turn? There's lots of, we've seen managers come and go. That's the one thing that we've always seen at this club. Kevin, great to see you not at the bottom end of the scale tonight. You're going to get your opinion in early. What's your feeling on Eddie Howe and Darren's question tonight? Eddie in or Eddie out?
I'm in for now. But I agree with George. And I said previously, it's making a rod for his own back, essentially. Decisions that he's made, the recent comments, I've seen the press conferences, but what you read and what you hear and what you see is not helping his cause in terms of trying to fix it, in terms of trying to figure out, again, system, shape, formation, mentalities, and moving the club forward. And that's the bigger problem. And how can he move the club forward? But and I said last week, I kind of feel sorry for him in a way, because he's got no backroom support in terms of hierarchy from what it looks like. It's like leaving him hanging out to dry without a budget, without transfer window money. And like I said last week, it's a lonely place. It's a very lonely place when you're hung out to dry on an island by yourself trying to fix it. Yes, you've got a coaching team around you. However, you're the main man. You're the front of it. You're facing the cameras every other day, doing media, doing this. But for me, and I said it again, I don't know, maybe over a year ago, into the probably Christmas of last year, within the season, this is a big season for Eddie Howe in terms of getting us into European football once we got knocked out of the Champions League. And unfortunately, he hasn't delivered that. It's been the Premier League as a whole is inconsistent, but for us as a fan base and a club, it's been very, very inconsistent. I know we'll get on to talk about the Brentford game soon, but it's a Jekyll and Hyde type of team. It's a Jekyll and Hyde type of moment. But for me, it's to say I watched the thing with Simon Jordan, and he's a very intelligent man. Outside of the football, he's a very intelligent man. He's astute, he's articulate, but I think he's just been recently, I think the pressure's getting to him. I think not that he doesn't know where to go, but I think he's internally asking and self-reflecting a lot of what he's doing and what he's doing right, what he's doing wrong. But for me, football's a result business at the end of the day. Yes, we'll love Eddie Howe. I love him as a coach. He's done wonders with the players that he inherited from the Bruce era, and even probably beyond that, the Rafa era. And look what he's done with them as a coach. Wonderful, brilliant. However, at the end of the day, if we can't get results, then the ownership might have to look at that. But for now, I would, like you, Steve, I would give him to the end of the season and see where we fall and see where we'll land. I just hope it's European football. I just hope we'll turn the corner in terms of playing positively, in terms of being on the front foot, like we were against Liverpool. And Tom, I appreciate the compliment in terms of the simplification and man-to-man, which we did. And that hasn't occurred consistently across the game. Now we've got to look at it in terms of across games, then you've got to look at it in terms of, does Bunce have an influence? Does Mitchell have an influence? Are they working in tandem together? That for me is the crux of the whole direction of the club outside of the ownership group and the CEOs and all that sort of stuff. That's a business side, but on the performance and on the soccer side, football side, they have to work in tandem to get the best results. And that's not occurring. So there's obviously something disjointed, just like the first team. So that translates. So therefore, I'll give him to the end of the season. And then, if we're not in European football or don't win a cup, unfortunately, I can see his time up at the club.
Yeah, well, we'll come on to the Brentford game. I definitely want to discuss it in the second half of the show. Darren, thoughts, Eddie in or Eddie out? Where do you stand at this moment in time? It's resounding Eddie in at the moment.
I completely Eddie in there. I disagree with Kevin at what Kevin said. We don't qualify for Europe. I said to start the season, we look to finish 8th or 9th because he hasn't been back in the transfer market at all. I think he wanted players, but we've got any money to spend. And I feel sorry for Eddie because the last 2 wins, we've got anyone in at all. So, what's he meant to do? If you sack Eddie Howe, who do you get? like you said yesterday, Steve, on watching your program, he wasn't really. He would say once £2 million every transfer window. We can't do that. Who's available? No one's available decent. So I feel a bit sorry for Eddie. I think he's been hung up to dry by Newcastle. So I'll say Eddie in, and if we don't finish in European football, I don't think we're good enough to finish in the top 6 at all this season, because we've got an aging back two, sorry, and it showed you on Saturday. And I think the 2 centre halves are finished. So unless you get new centre halves, who's the more, and now Botman's back, that'll be one good thing. When he's only back, but you need a right-sided centre half, and you need a right-sided winger. Get rid of Murphy, get rid of Amaron. So to me, we need some fresh legs in the team and new faces in the team. But we've got any money. What's Eddie? What's Eddie meant to do? So I feel a bit sorry for him. So I'm a big Eddie in, and if we don't finish in the top, if we don't get European football, I'll still stick with him, because he has been backed in the last 2 wins. Our team's not good enough to be anywhere near the top 4 anyway. And then if we're pushing the top 6, I don't think we're that good enough. So I start to see 8 and 9. You know that. I know what I said. So that's my honest opinion, Steve.
No, that's fair enough, mate. Pablo?
Yeah, it's a tough one at the minute, isn't it? Because clearly everyone on this panel, and I think the fan base clearly see the qualities in Eddie. If it had been any of the other managers, for instance, Bruce's and whatnot, it would have been a categorical get out of the door. But the hard part for us at the minute is we know the quality that Eddie's got. We all know the struggles that he's facing, and that doesn't just fall at his door. That there's a hell of a lot going on. But the way I look at it is, Eddie, if Eddie Howe went to another team tomorrow, i.e., I don't know, pick someone, Tottenham, Chelsea, whoever it is, I'm fairly confident that he would do a good job at that club and he would take them to the next level in their club. But the constraints that he's under at the minute, he just can't. He's in a rock and a hard place, and there's not much he can do. The only thing I will say is, I'm as frustrated as anyone else, and the bit that there's a lot of stuff lost in communication at the moment with Eddie, and I think he is under pressure, and I think he's feeling it for the first time properly. We've had blips and stuff before where we've had, mini bad runs and whatnot, but I think even he's feeling it, and he's maybe going into new territories in his career. And obviously he had that relegation season with Bournemouth, blah, 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 but there's a lot of pressure at Newcastle United. We expect a lot. I know we're quite realistics on this panel, but there is a lot of expectation up there. So I think we've got for me, it's an Eddie in, although I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated with the complacency that when I watch a game, it's almost like we come after a game now and we're kind of making excuses for him, we're making excuses for the team. And that complacency is starting to wind me up. I'm not wound up with Eddie Howe at all, because I think he's a top-class man. First and foremost, he's a top-class man. I think he's a great coach. I think with some backing, we would be back to where we belong. But I just think we are where we are at the minute. And I think at the end of the season, if we're still turning out performances like we have been, then I think there is a call maybe to change Eddie. But it's no slight on Eddie's talent. It's no slight on him as a man. It's just us as a football club. At the end of the day, we support Newcastle United. We don't support Eddie Howe. We're all Newcastle United fans. So if it means at the end of the year, we're all saying about Eddie, maybe he might turn around and go, do you know what? I'm sick of working under these constraints. I can go and get a job at Tottenham. I can go and get a job at X, Y, and Z club. He might turn around and say that to us because he's got talent. So I think it's a tough one at the minute, mate, but I'll always be Eddie in because I like him. And I think there is something there within him. So fingers crossed we'll turn it around there.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Ian?
Hi, mate. Yeah, I'm Eddie in, as you know. The thing is, we can't blame Eddie Howe for players not turning up against lesser opposition. We can potentially, something I've said a few times, is maybe change the formation when we're playing against teams that play with 9 men behind the ball or with a low block or whatever you want to call it, and maybe change from the pretty straight 3 in midfield and play with a number 10. But you could play Isak at number 10, but who do you play up front? You know what I mean? We've not backed Eddie at all in the last 2 windows, and even the young lads who came in, Tino and Hall, have done really well now, but they were for the future in that third window ago. Do you get what I mean? So we haven't actually packed him at all. And somebody, I think Pablo just said then it's like stagnated, or you said a word, and yeah, it has, because if you're not moving forward in the Premier League, you're moving backwards. Everybody says that all the time. We haven't signed anybody, so people get complacent. That was what you said. Sorry, Pablo. Complacency. It's not that Eddie's getting complacent. The players are getting complacent. And again, like I kicked off the other week about what looked like a lack of effort or concentration, or just thinking like, people just going through the motions. And that's that, we'll come on to the game anyway. But that's something that without new signings coming into the team that put people under pressure, because the positions are then under pressure, it's really, really hard for a manager to do anything other than put the same people that he trusts out on the pitch. We all disagree at times with what he does in his in-game management and stuff. But you tell me now, any manager in world football who's going to come in with no money and do a better job than Eddie Howe's done, because I don't think there's anybody. He's come in, he's polished some turds into diamonds, to be honest. And like we say, his work ethic's amazing. He's a gentleman. He is a figurehead for the club for me. And yeah, he looks like he's under a little bit of pressure. But for me, it'd be a massive. It'd be so out of order to get rid of him without backing him and initially he got backed. We spent money. The last two windows, we've done nothing. We've moved backwards, and yeah, for me, it's got to be Eddie in.
Steve, can I just have a second to reply to a comment that I've just read?
Yeah, go for it, pal.
Denise, it was a comment from Denise about my comparisons of Bruce and Howe. What I was actually meaning, Denise, was as per the other managers, i.e. Bruce and all that, we all saw them for what they were. I wasn't comparing Howe to Bruce. What I was saying is we all see the class and talent that Howe has, which is why we're kind of giving him the pass, which is why we're supporting him. So I wasn't comparing Bruce to Howe by any stretch. It was actually giving a contrast. Cheers, mate.
Okay. Yeah, no worries, mate. Great stuff. Darren, I hope that answers your question. It is a resounding Eddie in on the panel tonight, and I don't think there's any great surprise in that from my point of view. I think, all the lads on here have got opinions, and we've all got different, feelings about the way things are going at the moment, but we've still got faith in the manager. And I think as as a straw poll, that in its sense tells you, where fans from around the world are. And I think I think I've done the poll in the chat. I'm not sure whether it's still there or whatever. But again, we did it last week or the week before, and it was an Eddie, resounding Eddie in as well. So, I think what we're seeing on social media, to be fair, is a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, and probably something which is supported by people who maybe don't support the club and are just doing it for the frisk and for the laugh. You know what I mean? Anyway, we are halfway through the show. We will have a quick ad break. If you are watching on Twitter, please jump over onto YouTube, search NUFC Matters, hit the subscribe button. It's free, and we do 7 shows a week. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. A big thanks to United Group Travel, who are our fanzine sponsors. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, a local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. All excursions included. Website is www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. They are the Travel and Tourism Award winners 2024. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the technical side of things. You can find them at media-arts.co.uk. And a big thanks to Sport Social. You can find them at sport-social.co.uk, where we are now available as an audio podcast. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel, then please hit the subscribe button under this video today. Hit the thumb up to like the channel and click share to share your other social media. We've got a few events coming up in the run up to Christmas and after New Year. The NUFC Matters Christmas party takes place at Tyneside Irish Centre in aid of Newcastle's Cat and Dog Shelter. Tickets are £10 from newcastlelegends.com. The event takes place Saturday the 28th of December, 7 to 11, and our special guests are Nobby Solano and Joe Allen. The long stands will be at the Clooney in aid of the Newcastle Cat and Dog Shelter. Tickets are from the Clooney themselves or newcastlelegends.com, and tickets are priced at £15. Peter Beardsley will be at the Irish Centre, and that is on the 10th of January. Doors are 7 o'clock, and tickets are from newcastlelegends.com. You can also buy some tickets for that event at Woucher. And there is an evening with the entertainers on the 24th of January 2025. Box office is 0191 243 1171, or the website Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk for tickets. And Lee Clark is at the Gateshead Leisure Centre on the 31st of January. You can contact Gateshead Leisure Centre direct for those tickets. Don't forget as well, Will Scott's book on the entertainers is selling well and is available from newcastlelegends.com or from the Backpage shops in Newcastle and the Metro Centre and from Amazon. Okay, welcome back to the Fans Forum. I will be live tomorrow night, 5:30 with Ben Jacobs. We will be looking at people who we've been linked with in the transfer window, of course, and looking ahead to the Leicester game, of course, at the weekend. Ben, a big Leicester fan. Newcastle is his second club. So looking forward to having Ben on. Always some interesting questions to be answered. So make sure you bring your questions for Ben tomorrow night. See you at 5:30. George, then let's look back at the game at the weekend. And I called it at the start, a game of two halves, and I'm still of the same mind. Genuinely think that Newcastle played well in the first half. I think we went for it. I think we tried to take the game to a team which has an unbeaten record at home. It won 9 games in the League and Cup and had scored 22 goals before our trip down there. In the build up to it, I was expecting great things. I was very tentative with my prediction. I felt Newcastle would maybe go down there, take the game to them, and win 2-1. But it wasn't meant to be, and I think it was a calamitous game for us. We gave the ball away. That ball by Harvey Barnes, across his own midfield, straight into the path. The Brentford player, and it was a great finish. The fact that Longstaff hit the bar in the opening 10 minutes of the game, and Alexander Isak, after managing to get another goal to add to his collection, came up short. You could say it was a miss, but you've got to give credit to the goalkeeper for actually managing to get himself back into a position to pull the save off. But it was the mistakes. Newcastle gave the ball away cheaply. It was just disappointing. The second half of the game, we didn't turn up. We didn't turn up in the second half. That's what really disappointed us. And ultimately, those, the substitutions, they're always going to be under this spotlight. I preferred it when you could only make a certain amount of substitutions. I've lost count of the amount of subs we're allowed to make now. Is it 5? It's almost like a friendly. It's ridiculous. And I think sometimes that too many changes makes it almost the manager complacent. It doesn't seem to work. Too many changes can affect the team as many as too little changes can make. But overall, the first half, I thought Newcastle played well. I think if they'd played at the same level in the second half, I think Newcastle would have got something out of the game. I think the second half, dear me, it was as bad as West Ham at home. It was, and we got punished by a team that loves to score goals. But yeah, I didn't come away as disappointed as I should have done. and as other people did. But yeah, I just think it was, just one of those games. We've just got to shrug our shoulders and accept that that was it. And I will say that out of the 2 games against Brentford in December, I know which one I want to win. And I'm afraid it wasn't the one at the G-Tech. It's the one at home in the quarterfinals of the Cup to get us into the semis. And as long as we play and beat them at home, I'll be very happy this Christmas. But George, thoughts on the game of the weekend?
Well, as you know, repeating myself from before, very frustrating. You know that as Mr. Optimistic, I thought us down to win 3-2, because if ever there was a game that had goals in it, it had to be that one. The team with the best offensive record in the league, most home wins in the league, most goals in the league, they're not going to sit back and hope that something happens. They're going to have a go. And in my humble opinion, the best way to counter that is to do it back to them. And that's what we did in the first half, I thought. I thought leaving Tonali and Gordon off the pitch was a huge mistake on Eddie Howe's part, but he's the manager. And the other thing that bothered me slightly was I like in the build-up, I like to watch the players coming into the ground and getting off the bus and filing in. Well, I was so worried with what I was seeing with how I was going into the Brentford ground. I phoned a friend and said, I didn't like the look of that. There's not a smile on even Miggy and Murphy, who always have a smile on their face, looked bloody miserable. And I thought, what's happened on that bus? And they weren't together. They were trailing in one after the other. There was no groups like there usually is. And that did worry me, and it did worry my friend. Lo and behold, yesterday when Stu was on the professionals, he said exactly the same thing. He got so concerned about what he was saying. He phoned people to say, is that right? That doesn't look good. Having said that, you're right as well, Steve. First half, they were great. They had a go. And had Longstaff and Isaac just had that moment longer to put the ball in the back of the net instead of doing what happened, we would have gone in at half-time 4-2. Absolutely fantastic. But then second half, well, some players must have went home. Now, I commented on some games where we've been better in the second half. I wonder what Eddie put in that tea at half-time. Well, they mustn't have had anything in the half-time at Brentford, because some of them were absolutely dreadful. I love Fabian Schär. On Saturday afternoon, second half, I wouldn't give tuppence for Fabian Schär. And I'm not surprised all of the pundits in the national papers were giving him 2s and 3s for his out of 10 for his score. His shoulders were down. He was going home. It was just dreadful. Like we'd see them in the West Ham match, in my view. And I can't stand that. Once players start look like they're not interested, they're not playing, then it spreads. And of course, it spread so badly that the 2 people who've been consistently brilliant for us are our two young fullbacks. They lost the game as well. And of course, that left Dan Burn in a pickle. He's good at what he does, but not good enough to support a whole team, I'm afraid. And he was found out. His pace was found out again. But that's not news to us and shouldn't be to others. But on his own, he's a danger to us. So the second half was just appalling, is the only word I can describe. And I know when the national papers came out, must have heartened Darren to find they were all making Murphy the man of the match. Well, that says a lot. That says a lot. It really does. But it was just the way the game went. We were really, really poor. And yes, there were things that he did, the substitutions you can ask questions about. At the end of the day, it's the 11 on the pitch who decide the result, who put the ball in the onion bag. And if that doesn't happen, we're going nowhere. Well, we never even looked like we'd put the ball in the onion bag in the second half. We were so bad. As regards their goals, well, you hit it a nail on the head, Steve. All could be down to Newcastle individual errors. And you can't do that against a team that's as hot as they are at home. And we got punished for it. And we can't complain about that. It really was probably the worst 45 minutes football that we've had since Eddie Howe came, in my opinion. Really was awful. And some individuals really have to look at themselves. And if there's anybody else thinks that Bruno's a captain, please watch his after-match interview again and tell me what he tried to say to us. He's lost. He's lost, and I do think it's affecting his game. And really, that's something that that has to be looked at. He is not the captain. I hate to say it, but on Saturday afternoon, about middle of the second half, I would have loved to have had a Jamal Lascelles club captain that we used to have step onto that field and kick a few backsides, because that's what he would have done. And the number of times he's done it when he was captain at St James's Park, and you could actually hear him shouting. We are sitting by it in '92. You could hear him bellowing directions to the players. We missed that kind of leadership on the field on Saturday, because those that were down stayed down, and there was nobody, and certainly not Bruno, trying to get them up. All this waving the hands at the crowd, I've said it before. You put a ball in the back of the net, and even I'll get up and wave me bloody hands. But, no, it was worst 45 since Eddie Howe came.
Okay, strong words from George. Thoughts on the Brentford match, Tom?
Yeah, I got lots of thoughts. When I saw the team sheet come out, I was pretty positive. I saw 9 players on the bench. 6 of those players have played international football. I mean, so we had an incredibly strong bench. I thought we only had 3 days rest. So to rest Gordon and Tonali, 2 players that he called out as being knackered after the match against Liverpool, I thought, well, that kind of makes sense as well. And then I see everybody where they're playing is pretty much in their natural position, with Bruno back at the 6. So I was pretty positive getting into the game. We started off pretty positively too. I thought, again, Murphy played well, 2 assists. If you give me 2 assists every game, I'll start you every game. I'm telling you that. I thought that Isak was active. I thought that Barnes looked well, except for one stupid pass that he made that I don't know what he was thinking. So I was feeling pretty positive. And then the second half happened, and I wasn't as positive. And a few things. One thing George already said about Bruno, when Tonali came on and Bruno got pushed up to that number 8, he stopped being a captain. He stopped organizing the team. He stopped boosting morale. He pretty much was a non-entity to help the lads out. I thought Eddie made some mistakes. I thought he was a little late for Trippier. We obviously needed leadership on the pitch. And when he did come on late, that would have been the perfect time for Pope to feint an injury. Sit down. Give the team a chance for a minute to regroup a little bit. So I was a little disappointed, that it took so long to get Trips on, because we needed leadership on the pitch. But also, I think it could have been a little bit more savvy about how they communicated to the players on the pitch from the bench. Joe Linton, I thought looked horrible. And every time that he goes down, he's holding his left shoulder. And I went back and I rewatched the game. He's not running correctly. He's not running that first goal that they had where he was so far upfield. He did not play Joe Linton like football, getting back. And Hall, although he didn't defend it very well, was kind of left exposed. When Hall was really good against Saka, he could push Saka to the outside, and Joe Linton would be there on the inside to stop that move. And they didn't do that. So whether Eddie set him up differently or Joe Linton wasn't getting back, but I thought that was pretty telling. And then we mentioned Shar. There's a country music song. Probably nobody ever heard of it, but one of the lyrics from Toby Keith says, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. And I think that's about Shar. Is after 3 days, that guy's played a lot of minutes, a lot of things in his legs. And it's not only your legs get tired, but you get mentally fatigued as well. And it just takes a night of insomnia to push that up. I'm not saying he did that, but he was not at the races. He was definitely not as sharp, not just physically, but mentally as he normally is. So I think there was a number of things that were disappointing. That I think could have been corrected. So I look at the people on the pitch. I also look at Eddie and the bench. I think they could have been a little bit better about how they manage things. But I wasn't unhappy about the way Eddie set up the team. I thought it was great. I thought that he could bring in 6 international subs if he needed to in the back half of the game, and that those fresh legs would run Brentford in the ground, who also had a game midweek last week. But they gave Brentford much more energetic than we were, much more composed, especially going forward than we were, and we deserve to lose the match.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Waldo says it's been a long time since Trippier had any effect on this side. People are clutching at straws with that one. Yeah, I would agree, Waldo. He's like just a name on paper now, mate. Yeah, it's sad to see the decline in Trippier. And for me, if we can get some money for him in January, that's one of those players I would let go. But just one of those situations. And I certainly agree with Tom's opinion and George's about Tonali and Gordon. For me, the both should have started. I would have put an unchanged team out. Those players are good enough to be on the bench and come on and play some part, then they're good enough to start. And why change a team that had put in such a great performance? These players are getting paid millions of pounds a season, you know, and surely they should be fit enough to be able to play these games. This is what they wanted. This is what they were saying when we're in the Champions League, as Stu said yesterday on the on the professionals. You know what I mean? He ultimately wanted to, you know, they all wanted to play these games, and you know it wasn't a problem. And yeah, but yeah, it's just disappointing. Kev, thoughts on the collapse at Brentford?
It was like a pack of cards at Vegas, to be honest, just folded. Normally I'm quite careful with my words. That was shit in the second half.
Hey, Kevin.
Sorry, I apologize, but
Get the swear box out.
hold on. You can shut up. No, for me, yes, we went. It was a to and fro. Went 1-0 down. Responded well. Getting back into it. 1-1. Same thing. 2-1. All the above. 2-2 half time. Then got to be careful what I say here. Just you all understand whom I work for essentially, so I've got to be careful. It's a metrics thing. It was metrics, and I've just looked at it when the lads were talking. It was all metrics, long balls, percentage of wins. Their expected goals within inside the 18-yard box in the second half was higher. Then that's what they do. They play on other deficiencies within the opposition, and it's all numbers. It's all metric based. So we couldn't deal with that. It was the individual error. Even though we might have had more passes and we've had more possession and things like that, if the Isaac goal goes in, it's a completely different game to take it to 3-2, I believe, at the time, or whatever it was within the timeline of it. But for me, and I agree with you, it was, Steve, with the Tonali thing, play Gordon, play them, make it unchanged. But again, from what I've seen, they changed their shape. They played 3-4-2-1, overloaded midfield yet again, and we can't cope. But from into the second half, I mean, we couldn't pass water. I mean, it was, why is Harvey Barnes playing a 40-yard ball inside with to create a 2v2 with one of the top teams at home in the Premier League this season that score goals for fun? Yeah, they score great goals. And again, but it's this individual error. And as soon as I seen that, it's just not good enough. He's not good enough to retain possession of the ball. Why can't you just advance the ball further down the field with a dribble, whatever? But for me, what the biggest thing was, and I almost turned it off, and I know I don't do that. It's like me leaving the stadium. It was when, again, with their metrics and what they do in terms of percentages of long balls and long passes or whatever you want to call it, and it's down to Fabian Schär. And I had an argument with my 14-year-old son about this. And he said, well, Fabian Schär, he followed him. And I said, well, he should have won the first header. He should have won the first ball. Why didn't he go and challenge? Why did he just duck? If you watch it again, he turned his back, ducked his head, went turtlenecked and done this and turned his back.
Can't head the ball, man. He's the only centre-back I've ever known who can't head the ball.
It doesn't matter. I don't care if he wins it or not. Go and challenge him. Go and compete. Get yourself in the back of him. Get your arms up and go and win, and go and attempt to win the ball. And that didn't happen. Then the knock-on effect is everybody else is now making a recovery run to try and right the wrong of what he's done. And yes, it hit his heel and went in bottom corner, which I think Pope could have done a lot better. I thought Pope, the other two goals, yeah, good finishes, but that one really was a sucker punch, and the fourth one, well, that's just icing on the cake for them and the cherry on top. But again, it's I bang on this drum all the time. It's the basics of damn football. It's the basics of it. Pass the ball to each other, connect the pass, control the game, be in control of what we do. But we and others, and within a post-match media chat is, this and that weather. I'll talk about that. I don't care. Where do you train every day? You train at Little Benton, which is blowing an absolute hoolie for like 50 miles an hour, and you can't play in a stadium that a little bit of rain, a little bit of wind, and you can't play in that. You train in the northeast of England. You should be used to that. You should be able to navigate your way through that game. And we didn't. We tried to overcomplicate it. We made life difficult for ourselves, because if you push a 3 forward and you leave a massive gap, well, they're just going to quite happily push forward with them. Bremo and Wissa, who I thought were fabulous in the day, that caused us problems all day. And Rodriguez, I think the lad up front, just caused our back to all problems all day. And no disrespect to Lewis Hall, I thought he should have done better when Bremo cut inside to stop the shot. But there's others involved in that. It's not just him. There's others, like Dan Burn needs to get closer. Fabian Shaw needs to get closer to block the shot, deny the finish. So again, it's just those mental errors that are letting the I guess Eddie Howe's philosophy down, and they're not executing what he needs and what he wants. So for me, it's very, like I said from the previous thing, it's a sad situation. It's a sad place where he needs to be. Very, very disappointing. I thought we could have got something out of the game. Even a draw would have been probably a fair result over the course of it. But for me, not good enough. Absolute dog shit. Needs to figure it out in a hurry. Unless it's going to be very interesting, because they're on a bit of an up now.
Okay, Darren, Tilly's in the chat. I'm sure you want to say hi to her, pointing out she was watching.
Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice, Daz, that someone in the chat likes you?
It is. Well, there comes the negativity bit now. I'll agree with the comment. We should have played the same team we played against Liverpool. Unfortunately, that does involve Murphy. He's rubbish. He couldn't score on a Ballon d'Or.
What's that? He should get the Ballon d'Or.
No, he couldn't score on a Ballon d'Or, put it that way. The 2 shots ahead against Liverpool, I knew he missed before he even touched the ball. I didn't even move. I knew he missed. Right? That's how confident I was he was never going to score against Liverpool. He doesn't take a player on Murphy. He can't skin anybody to save his life. So I'm not going to go now, Murphy. What's so frustrating, because Tonali played in the middle. He played number 6 against Liverpool, and I thought he had a good game against in the number 6, and then he played against Brentford on the bench. So that was like frustrating, because I thought he should have played the same team, should have played Gordon, should have played Tonali. So he changed it, putting Longstaff on and Bond on the left. So frustrating that was. I can't disagree with George, because I don't rate Lascelles. I never have. He wasn't a good captain in my eyes.
Oh God.
Just my opinion, George. I'm saying I'm not a fan of Lascelles. He's out of contract, so guy's not getting a new contract. I hope he doesn't get a new contract. And Shaw and Byrne are finished. and I stand by that. But unfortunately, because Dick was short, because we've got a right side centre half. We saw Mr. Header, Dan Burns too slow to react to cover him, and Dan Burns too, but he's on. Dan Burns done good for us last year and the year before, but to me, I think he's done for Newcastle. Yes, he's a loyal. Yes, he's a Geordie, but he's certainly sell by date. So like the second half, and Nick Pope, what's he doing? I'm sorry, we've got 4 keepers. I think when you sell free them and get a decent one. I think Nick Pope's finished. I don't trust him. When the ball comes to him, everybody cringes. Beyond me, how he missed the ball, I don't trust Nick Pope anymore. I don't trust Shaw, I don't trust Dan Burn. It's so frustrating when you play the big teams, the players are up for it, but when you play the shit teams, sorry, I do swear, Ian, swear box, it's just shite because it's not good enough. Because like Brentford are a good team. I think Eddie should have played his strongest team no matter what, and it's the second half. It just told me who the players are not good enough, and it's a fact. We've got beat. Forget about it. Move on. That's what I'll say. No point dwelling on it. But to me, Leicester's is a must-win game in my eyes. So we need to book our eyes up and we smell the fresh air and play better.
Well, Tilly's not happy with all the negativity anyway. So Darren, all his negativity, honestly. So there you go. You're getting told off again. Pablo, just looking back at that game at the weekend, mate. I mean, I described it as a game of two halves, and I mean, listening to the rest of the lads, everyone's down on it, but the only way to make it feel better is by beating Leicester next weekend.
Of course it is, mate. Of course it is, and I think that the Brentford game for me it encompasses exactly what we have been all season. We kind of turn up in fits and starts. We'll start a game brightly and we'll look like we're going to pummel a team, and then we'll drop off. Or in the start of the season, it looked like we turned up in the second half, but we didn't in the first. It's just the Brentford game for me is a window into our season. We have chances there. Teams are there for the taking. We don't necessarily take our chances. A lot of individual errors. For me, at the moment, it seems like there is something exactly in what George said. Body language. We're obviously struggling. Now, forget the fact I don't know what's gone on the bus or walking in. I didn't watch that bit. But on the pitch, it seems to be we're all walking around with our shoulders down. Now, any team I've played in them, probably the other lads and George has played in them, when the things are against you, you want players stood there with the chests out, beating the chests. Almost what Bruno does when he kind of signals to the fans, but I actually want players to do it. It's a case of I just don't see any of that at the minute. And I didn't see any of it certainly in the second half at Brentford. They were there for the beating. They were there for the taking. We did well to come back because obviously when Brentford score, you think, oh, no, here we go again. And we came back. Barnes made amends for his error. And I actually thought coming into the second half, I thought, here we go. We're going to give it a real good go. And it's like someone had flicked a light switch at half time. I don't know what the hell the team talk was at half time.
I think Eddie got Daz in to do it.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I reckon.
So yeah,
I think the thing is, mate, you're not even on the pitch in the second half, though.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was raging Saturday night, and I've gone through the whole emotion things of being angry, fed up, despondent. But now, when we're looking at it on a Monday night, we just think it is where we are at the minute. We've got no consistency. We're not getting the right language. We're not getting the right words that we need out of the club. We're not getting the right words we need out of the manager. Something's got to change. I don't know where it comes from. I'm not paid enough to think about that, but something's got to change because we can't fall into. We play Leicester, like you say, next time out. Now we all know what's going on at Leicester. They've got the tails in the air. They'll have a positivity around them. There'll be posters all over their changing rooms about positivity and life. And it's just a case of where do we pick up that next win? Where do we kickstart our season? Because a month ago, I remember having a chat with you all saying, I can see us going all December unbeaten. Looking at the teams down the list, they were all doable. They're all winnable. But yet we find ourselves now coming up.
Should have been.
Yeah, exactly. Should have been. And we find ourselves coming up mid-December and we're still scratching our head where we're going to get a win. But Don't know, mate. It is. I think Leicester, we've got to do something against Leicester. The more this run goes on, the more important it becomes, and the more pressure is on Eddie or on the team or on the fans or whoever. So fingers crossed, mate. We'll change. Fingers crossed, we'll change against Leicester. But I agree with you, Steve. I would have started with the lads that started midweek.
Yeah, Tonali and Gordon should have started. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure they would agree. I'm sure they're not sitting there going, "Yeah, drop us, boss." I think they would like to have played. It's really disappointing that for me set the stall out. We got the 2-2 at half time, but I can see the flip side as a manager. You decide, I'll bring them on. It's going to change the game for a positive. They'll be chomping at the bit to get on, but it can ruin the momentum. It can ruin and people. People's heads drop. People's heads drop. That's the thing. Yeah.
Ian, another quick one just before I leave. It's rich you calling people about swearing. You've got an IVA set up with a payment plan with your box. But yeah, cheers.
Go on, Ian, mate. Give us your views on the Brentford match.
It's exactly the same as all the lads and yourself. First half was a game of 2 hours. First half, I thought we were the better team. No, I'm not swearing because Tilly's in the chat. So no, I think we were the better team in the first half without actually being that good. Second half, get the swear box out, just pointless is the only thing I can think to say. I looked at the stats, and do you know what I don't like? Do we like? Have we got a? Is there something that's in the team that's causing the team to not pull the trigger? We had. I've got it here. 40 touches in their box. 40 touches. And we had 16 total, in total, 16 shots, only 3 on target. They had 11 shots and they had 8 on target. So that tells a story as well. But I think we're fannying around too much with the ball, and I do think, as much as I'm Eddie in, I do think that he needs to look. The 4-3-3 is brilliant when we're against teams that are coming at us. It works. But when we're against teams that are counter-attacking against us and they're going to sit back and soak up the pressure and and not go gung-go against us, it doesn't work. We need somebody in there who's going to be in that. He's going to drop into the pockets. He's going to in between the lines, a decent number 10. Which, to be fair, he wanted to sign Maddison, maybe and we probably haven't got that number. Well, we haven't got that number 10 apart from Isak, but then we'd need another number 9. So it is harsh because he's not been able to sign anybody. But it was just lackluster. There's like the lads have said, there's some players I feel I just, it's like they're going through the motions.
We don't have a physical element up top either, mate. So to change it, it's not as if we can go to a plan B and say, right, we're going to be a little bit more direct. We haven't got anybody. I mean, what's Harvey Barnes? 5'7", Gordon 5'10". There's only Isak and he's a beanpole. That's. I mean, I know we don't want to go on about it, but look at Chris Wood. We don't have that kind of option anymore, so we're kind of tuned in to play this way.
Well, we do. We've got a Sula.
Well, exactly, but he's just not for him.
He's a lump, isn't he? He's a very, very quick lump.
Still learning the game.
It might need that. It might need some radical kind of just one out of the box kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think we're a million miles away, and I think we're in a lucky situation where we sat in 12th, whatever we're in, and it's not. It's been hit and miss, but everybody else has been so rubbish as well, like so inconsistent that we're still actually not that far off. And I know we keep saying this, and I've said this a few times, and we'll get a good result, and then we'll get a poor result, but something's got to click. And if we can sign, we need a centre back desperately. Share for me, he's gone now. Dan Burn's been good for me this season, but the last he's not been great in the last few games, and I think we'd really, really, really need Botman back and another centre back for me. But there's the 3 positions. We all know what we need. You know what I mean? So we'll just keep going on about it. It's whether Do you know what I'd do if I was them? I'd go out and I'd buy you the flipping heck I want to and see what happens.
Exactly.
Sell an hotel to ourselves. You know what I mean? Sell stack back to ourselves or something. You know what I mean? Like just play the game with it and just go and buy who you want and see what happens. But they'll not do.
Yeah, good stuff. Great opinions tonight. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to the moderators. Thanks to Kev, to Ian, to Pablo, to Darren, to Tom, and to George as well. Back tomorrow, 5:30 live with Ben Jacobs taking your questions. Take care. See you tomorrow.
Cheers, lads.
Everybody. Thanks for watching.